and welcome to the comprehensive news analysis of the Indian Express Delhi edition dated 29th June 2020. Let's look today we are going to discuss 13 articles. Let's look at the first article. Oli alleges India plot to topple him, says meeting on in Delhi. Now on the backdrop of this article, I would like to elaborate the Indo-Nepal relations in brief. So let's have a look about the current Indo-Nepal relations. You must understand how the ongoing Indo-Nepal relations are progressing and what are the various progress made in the Indo-Nepal relations. You must understand about the present context of Indo-Nepal relations. You must say that India and Nepal have a good relationship. They initiated their relationship with the 1950 Indo-Nepal Treaty of Peace and Friendship (NPT) and accompanying secret letters that defined security relations between the two countries. And an agreement was formed between them governing both bilateral trade and trade transiting Indian territory. The 1950 treaty and letters exchanged between the Indian government and Rana rulers of Nepal stated that neither government shall tolerate any threat to the security of the other by a foreign aggressor and obligated both sides to inform each other of any serious friction or misunderstanding with any neighboring state likely to cause any breach in the friendly relations subsisting between the two governments. But in the present context, what we have observed border disputes. We have observed the territorial disputes of India and Nepal include Kala Pani, Lipu Lake, Lampiadura. In the last 2 months, what progress we have made, that Indo-Nepal relations has worsened. Nepal has also passed an amendment to its new map and it's constantly trying to invade India. When we say about discussion of the progress made between the territorial disputes of India and Nepal and what kind of progress is made. As a first step for demarcating Indo-Nepal border, survey teams from both countries located and identified missing pillars along the border. But in the present context, what we have observed that many kinds of activities have taken place 19 June, 20 June, and it is constantly interfering in our border. Now let's move to the second article, importantly to discuss with the context of this one about the MSMEs. So why we have picked a article which is relevant to MSMEs, which is very important to discuss in the context of micro, small, and medium enterprises. So here we have that article about the MSMEs, General Studies, Paper 3, Economy. So, with the context of MSMEs, we all are familiar that how MSMEs has progressed so far. In the context of MSMEs, you are all familiar what kinds of progress have been made and how they contribute to Indian economy. The Indian economy is very important in the context of MSMEs. So you must take part and we must understand the context of the MSMEs. So let's look at that presentation. Very important from General Studies, Paper 3, Economy. Micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs. We all know that according to the 20 lakh COVID relief package which was given to the MSMEs by a finance minister has helped them a lot. The COVID-19 pandemic has also highlighted some of the challenges. So let's look at the challenges. That first is that too small to be registered. Their scale is not much large that they can be registered. So they face constantly many kinds of challenges. You must look about that challenges. What kinds of challenges they are facing. Importantly to discuss about that they are too small to be registered. Even GST has a threshold. Most MSMEs do not qualify for goods and services tax. Now the COVID-19 pandemic has left its impact on all sectors of the economy. But nowhere is the hurt as such as the MSMEs of India. MSMEs which make up for about 45% of the country's total manufacturing output. 40% of exports, almost 30% of the national GDP are stressed due to depleting internal reserves and a low visibility of demand for the next 6 months at least. Even GST has a threshold. Most MSMEs do not qualify for GST. Then you have the lack of financing. The government did not provide much support to MSMEs. Banks differ from extending loans to MSMEs. There is no uniform law. Delay in payment to MSMEs, be it from their buyers, which includes the government, also are for the things like the GST refunds, which are delayed. And now also COVID-19 has worsened the situations. If you talk about the previous arrangement for the micro, small, and medium enterprises, what we have observed, MSMEs were already struggling in terms of declining revenues and capacity utilization in the nearest to the COVID-19 crisis credit guarantees. This was all about relevant from the General Studies Paper 3 Economy. Let's move on to the second article. Safety violations, DGCA issues show cause notice to AirAsia now. This article has been written from the perspective of the Indian YouTuber Mr. Gaurav Taneja, who was a captain of flight AirAsia. He complained about the safety issues. Now the DGCA has taken the note of that consideration of that complaint. So let's look about the arrangements or what kinds of arrangements or provisions are made under the Directorate General of Civil Aviation in India. Now the DGCA is a statutory body. Please note and please pay attention to statutory body, because we have also non-constitutional and constitutional bodies. So DGCA is a statutory body formed under the aircraft. Okay, it is formed under the Aircraft Amendment Bill 2020. This directorate investigates aviation incidents. Also, it takes note of the safety issues, the safety considerations, and all kinds of arrangements and issues are made. And also, it investigates any kind of air accident and also aviation security. Now, in January 1978, the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, that is BCAS, was established as a department of the DGCA. As a result of the 1985 bombing of Air India Flight 182, what happened that the BCAS, the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security, became an independent agency of the Ministry of Civil Aviation. Now, when we say about the functions, what the DGCA performs, it goes like that. First, registration of a civil aircraft, then certification of airports, then licensing of pilots, then you have aircraft maintenance. Importantly to discuss about the aircraft maintenance, then engineers, then air traffic controllers, and also flight engineers. And it has also been authorized for conducting examinations and checks, and also recruits the pilots, the qualified pilots. And also it has been considered or been given that the performance to carry out the amendments to the Aircraft Act. Also, it has been authorized for the formulation of standards of airworthiness for civil aircraft, then also conducting investigation into incidents and serious incidents involving aircraft up to 2250 kg. Also checks on the proficiency of flight crew and operational personnel such as flight dispatchers and cabin crew. Now, here we have viewed at what were the safety violations reported by that YouTuber. Next article, relevant for General Studies Paper 3, Science and Technology. Here we are talking about the measles, mumps and rubella vaccine, MMR vaccine, which can help fight the sepsis in the COVID-19 positive patients. Now, if you look at the present context on the what kinds of progress have been made in the past 1 week in the MMR vaccine, which is not yet confirmed, but sources are saying that MMR vaccine might offer protection against worst COVID-19 pandemic. So how? The researchers have said that live attenuated vaccines, which are made using weakened strains of a disease causing pathogen, provide non-specific protection against lethal infections. The experts have also stated that the vaccines can induce trained innate immune cells for improvement in the patient. So it's a good news about the measles, mumps and rubella vaccine, which can be used as a preventive measure against the worst disease complications of the COVID-19. Next article, General Studies Paper 3, Economy. The content creator is asking why India is producing less and less oil. What is the reason, the basic reason? We have to look into that matter. In the past 1 month, the deficiency in oil, but the crude oil prices are constantly dropping, and we have to look into that matter considerably. And the new oil discoveries are also at the why India is producing less oil. Now, experts say that most of India's crude oil production comes from aging wells that have become less productive over time. This is one key point. A lack of new oil discoveries in India, coupled with a long lead time to begin production from discovered wells, that has led to a steady decline in India's crude oil production, making India increasingly dependent on imports. The output of these aging wells is declining faster than new wells that can come up, according to the experts. Domestic exploration companies are attempting to extend the life of currently operational wells. So, very importantly, when we say about why the production is falling, why the reasons we take into consideration, we take into the matter of the consideration, we look at the graph, crude oil production is falling. But crude oil production in India is dominated by two major state-owned exploration: ONGC, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, and OIL, Oil India Limited. Now, one question about the private players introduction that the content creator has taken into consideration is why are there not more private players? While there are some private players in the upstream oil sector, including Cairn India and HUL, Hindustan Oil Exploration Company, HOL, so there has been a lack of interest in exploration and production in India from major private players. According to experts, this is because of long delays in the operationalization of production even after an oil block is allotted due to delays in approvals. This is the basic reason. Now, what kinds of policy changes are made? So, we can just have a look about the policy changes which are made. Importantly, to discuss the policy changes made. When we say about the policy changes, we take into consideration of the existing public and private sector players, which has asked about the policy changes which can be made. Very importantly, to discuss about that. Very importantly, to discuss about the policy changes made, because policy changes are the basic reason and they take into consideration for reduced levies of oil production, including oil gas royalties and profit petroleum, especially when crude oil prices are below $45 barrel. So experts say that the requirement to pay royalties to the government at low crude prices can make it unviable for these companies to invest in further exploration of production. Next article, General Studies Paper 3, Polity, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA. In the present context, what we have seen, slain militant's mother was held and she was booked under the UAPA Act. Now, what is the UAPA Act? We all know that some amendments were made last year in the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which is in India, which is an Indian law which is aimed at effective prevention of the unlawful activities associations in India. Its main objective was to make powers available for dealing with activities directed against the integrity, security, internal security, and the sovereignty of the Indian government and Indian people. The UAPA Act was passed in 1967, and the long title which is stated in that original act says that an act to provide for the effective prevention of certain unlawful activities of individuals. Very important point to note: individuals can also be booked under UAPA Act, and we must have a look about that certain unlawful activities and associations and for matters connected therewith. Last amendment in 2019, individuals can also be tagged under Terrorist Amendment Act of 2019, which is the basic crux of the UAPA, which was amended in 2019. Now, the NIC, National Integration Council, appointed a committee on national integration and regionalization to look into the aspect of putting reasonable restrictions in the interests of the sovereignty and integrity of India. Pursuant to the acceptance of recommendations of the committee, the Constitution's 16th Amendment Act of 1963 was enacted to impose by law reasonable restrictions in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India. Now let's move to the next article, which is relevant for General Studies Paper 2, Polity. ODR, online dispute resolution, can be a key to address. Now, in this backdrop, I would like to discuss Niti Aayog, National Institution of Transforming India, which was met a policy decision maker of India. Niti Aayog we must discuss about the Niti Aayog. Very important to discuss Policy Commission. It is a policy think tank of the Indian government which was established with the aim to achieve sustainable development goals with the cooperative federalism. Our Prime Minister constantly stresses and emphasizes on cooperative federalism by fostering the involvement of the state governments of India in the economic policy making process using a bottom up approach. Its initiatives include 15-year roadmap, 7-year vision strategy and action plan. Like we have many schemes: Amrut Digital India, Atal Innovation Mission, medical education reform, agricultural reforms, model land leasing law, reforms of the Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee Act. Now, the person concerned with the Niti Aayog very importantly remarks about the consideration of the recruitment of the online dispute resolution. The COVID-19 pandemic, maximum things, maximum arrangements in India, be it education sector, government sector, private sector, has moved to the online mode of arrangement. We must discuss what are the provisions under the Niti Aayog e-governance, and it always promotes e-governance, and many kinds of initiatives are being constantly taken into consideration. And Niti Aayog has also started a new initiative on the advice of Prime Minister called Niti Lectures Transforming India. The aim of this initiative is to invite globally the reputed policy makers or the experts, administrators to India to share their knowledge, to share their expertise and experience in policy making. So this was all about what we have to look into the matter from general studies paper to polity, Niti Aayog and online dispute resolution. Now reading China right now, in the backdrop of this article, the concerned content creator is taking into consideration about the present skirmish of the Indo-China relation. We must understand the Indo-China relation. Very importantly, we have seen the context of Nepal also, that what kinds of under pressure from the opposition, civil society, and a vociferous Nepali press, the government of Prime Minister of the Khadga, Prasad Sharma Oli, KPS Oli, issued a new political map of the country showing Kalapani, Lipu Lake, and Limpiadura various waters. But what impact has left on China? Now, reading China light, we cannot take China light. We must be serious about China. We must take the skirmishes which are constantly taking place, and we must not forget our brave soldiers who sacrificed their life on 16th of June in the Galwan Valley in the Ladakh. So, why it is being taken place? For the reason was that the why we have to boycott China, and what kinds of skirmish is taking place, and what are the consequences which are being followed by China are a part of an ongoing military standoff which started originally from the 5th of May 2020, and the line of actual control, it reminds of us of the 1962 Sino-Indian War. Very important to discuss. Also, amid the standoff, India reinforced the region with 12,000 additional workers who would help with completing the development of Indian infrastructure. The first train with over 1,600 workers left Dumka, Jharkhand on 14 June for Udhampur, Jammu and Kashmir, where they will contribute, they will assist in BRO, Border Roads Organization, road construction at the Sino-Indian border. Experts have postulated that the standoffs are Chinese preemptive measures in responding to the Daulat Peak Oldi Tarbuk Shok DBO road. So DSDB road, Dorak Tarbuk Shok Daulat Peak Oldi road infrastructure project in Ladakh. Now we must talk about the revocation of the special status of the Jammu and Kashmir, which took place on the 5th of August 2019. The causes, the incidents, the diplomatic response, the economic response, and what were the response given by the public and the citizens of the Jammu and Kashmir. First, diplomatic response. After the first meeting, India's foreign secretary called the Chinese ambassador to India and discussed about the bilateral mechanisms like agreement on the maintenance of peace and tranquility along the line of actual control and to send back the troops. Coming to the economic response, what was the impact on the economy when this trade war or this kind of an skirmish took place? So Sonam Wangchuk has, it's through YouTube, it's making constant appeal to the Indian to use wallet power and boycott Chinese products. And constantly, we have been observing him from the last 3 weeks and how Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, great Kashmiri innovator, and public response following the Galwan clash on the 17th of June. What happened? Actually, the incident took place on 16th of June, but the response of the public came and the protesters was on the next day, following day. The former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Umar Abdullah, tweeted, "Those Kashmiris tempted to look toward China as some sort of savior need only Google the plight of Uyghur Muslims. Be careful what you wish for." Now, he deactivated his Twitter account after that. What kinds of broader or what kind of media coverage took place? You must say that Chinese media have given little to no attention about the Galwan Valley incident. Now, he is the content creator of this article, Mr. P. Sitopson's constantly appealing us to not taking China lightly and taking all the consideration of the factors and have a look about the way forward for the Indo-China border dispute. Next article about the Mona Lisa painting. As we all know, during this COVID-19 pandemic, all the art galleries are shifting to the online way of appealing and online way of presenting their presentations, their craft, their culture, their creations. So we must understand how, we must understand why, we must understand the context, and we must understand about the Mona Lisa painting. Now, Mona Lisa with a mask, the simple article just written for general studies paper on art and culture, not going to the depth, but talking about Mona Lisa was a painting. It is a half-length portrait which was made by Leonardo da Vinci. It is considered as an archetypical masterpiece of the Indian Renaissance and has been described as the best known, the most visited, and the most written about painting, most sung about as well, and the most parodied work of art as well in the world. The painting's novel qualities include the subject's expression, which is frequently described as enigmatic, the monumentality of the composition, the subtle modeling as well, and the painting is likely of the Italian noblewoman Lisa Gherardini. This is all about, we have to look into that now. Coming to the next article, the room with a view, GS3 security, Indo-US relations. This is simply taking the drawing an outline about the Indo-US relations. In brief, again, we'll discuss the Indo-US relations, the India-United States relations, which is strategic partnerships, which includes as well as the diplomatic partnerships, which includes as well as the economic partnerships, and many kinds of progress which took place under the presidency of Mr. Barack Obama, increase in bilateral trade and investment, cooperation of global security matters, inclusion of India in the decision making on matters of global governance like UN Security Council. Last 2 weeks, we have observed that India was made a member of the United Nations Security General Security Council, a non-permanent member for 2 years, which is a good news for India. Now, coming to some of the Indo-US strategic partnership, Indo-US relations got strategic content in the early 1960s. The rise of the People's Republic of China worried the policymakers in Washington. Chinese assertion in Tibet, its role in the Korean War, and other such acts concerned Washington. As the relations between China and India were heated during the late 50s, the Americans found a golden opportunity to take advantage of the situation and to promote India as a counterweight to China. This was all about, which is relevant for general studies paper security, Indo-US relations. Coming in brief, already discussed embassies, and then coming to the Kartarpur bridge, the Kartarpur corridor. Kartarpur corridor, when you say about it, Kartarpur corridor is in Pakistan. It was inaugurated on 8th of November 2019, and the Kartarpur corridor is very strategic location from India. Why strategic? Because the Kartarpur corridor is very significant, and also it is a part of our cultural heritage, and many kinds of pressures has been taking place in the backdrop of this Kartarpur corridor. So what happens? That importantly, it's a secure corridor. We must look that it connects the Gurudwara Darbar Sahib in Pakistan to the border with the India. The crossing allows Sikh devotees from India to visit the Gurudwara in Kartarpur, 4.7 kilometers in length, and from the India-Pakistan border on the Pakistani side without a visa. Many Sikh residents of India can visit Kartarpur corridor, visit Darbara Gurudwara Sahib. However, Pakistani Sikhs are unable to use the border crossing and cannot access Dera Baba Nanak on the Indian side without first obtaining an Indian visa unless they work there. This was all about relevant to discuss from the Kartarpur corridor. Next, the promising future of online learning. Now, we all know importantly that how the COVID-19 pandemic has expressed, has devastated the shifting of the continuous learning which took place before this pandemic striked us, and how it has devastated the teaching learning process. So what are the various alternatives available, the options available, and what is the future of the promising career of the online learning, online future learning, everything. So the promising future of online learning talks about that there is a great digital divide in education, and we have to lessen that divide. We cannot completely eradicate because still 15% of the India are digitally unaccessible between two sectors, especially the rural areas as well. Between two sectors, as we all know, that we are left with no option, but we are left with online mode only. And continuously, we should monitor the learning of the in universities, in schools, in colleges, and which has shifted to the online teaching methodology, with the many of them using the online platform for the very first time. On the other hand, the government educational institutions have also shifted to the online mode, but they have completely shut down due to the death of due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, now e-learning solutions at the end, online learning is available from only 8 to 12 colleges and universities also through a variety of learning resources, including animation assessment, to design, to maths, to case study, a collection, a development, a tool at 17, we can say. You should also look at the use of online learning. It is good in online learning assessment, which tests the students, which can be tracked for their progress through digital redesigned quizzes. Also, you must know about that how we can continue. And the nationwide lockdown was announced as it was an important time for the education sector. In must understand that schools and universities should also consider the opportunity of a blended learning, opportunity of online learning, and pandemic as an opportunity. Pandemic should be considered by the schools, the educational institutions, the higher educational institutions of India as an opportunity to improve their educational infrastructure, as we are in a situation which then becomes a part of their new normal after experiencing the benefits. Next article. So this was all about the future of the article, but now we can just move back to the Nepal. The first we discussed about the KP Sharma Oli here. So we discussed MSMEs as well, but here we have to discuss about the KP Sharma Oli article. Now, what happens on the KP Sharma Oli article? We must understand about the pressures which is given by the Nepali, that India objected to the new Nepal map which was passed according to their amendment that included parts of the Indian territory. Nepal claims that the river to the west of Kalapani as the main Kali river, hence it belongs to Nepal. The river borders the Nepalese district of Darchula in the Surdu Paschim Pradesh, provided in the Indian district of Pittorgarh in Uttarakhand state. The Treaty of Sugauli, signed by Nepal and British India on 3rd of March 1816, locates the Kali river as Nepal's western boundary with India. Treaty of Sugauli. Subsequent maps drawn by British surveyors show the source of the boundary river at different places. This discrepancy in locating the source of the river led to boundary disputes between India and Nepal, with each country producing maps supporting their own claims. The Kali River runs through an area that includes a disputed area of about 400 kilometers square, and the source of the river, although the exact size of the disputed area varies from source to source. Kala Pani has been controlled by the India's Indo-Tibetan border police since the Sino-Indian War with the China, which took place in the 1962. What happened in November 2019? There was a protest in Kathmandu opposing a new map of India showing Kala Pani as a part of the Indian state of Uttarakhand. What happened on 20 May of 2020? Nepal launched its own map showing Kala Pani as parts of its own territory. On 10th June, the Nepali parliament moved to approve a new map and revision of the national emblem, which includes territory and India's Uttarakhand state. On 18th June, the upper house of the Nepal's parliament approved a new map for the country which included territories controlled by India. And India opposed the move, saying that the decision to include Limpiadura, Lipu Lake, and Kalapani is not based on evidence or historical facts. On 19th June 2020, Nepal started deploying its troops near the Kalapani and other disputed areas. Way forward, the troops had established camps and they were working on building a helipad in the area. And the Nepali Army Chief Mr. Purnachandra, General Purnachandra Thapa, after visiting Kalapani border area, stated that the Nepali army will start building army barracks and border outposts near the Kalapani area. So India must be prepared to face this kind of an attack. This was all about the 13 articles which we discussed today, ranging from the KP Sharma's OD, to the MSMEs, to the safety violations and all about the MMR vaccine. Thank you very much.